All right, thank you very much, Veli, once again. And it is indeed time to jump into this match. Just a bit of a housekeeping note. We're still waiting on players to jump into the server, so it's probably going to be a minute or two here before the game gets started. But regardless, that leaves plenty of time for me and Stokes to prep you guys for this game. Unlike a lot of the matches we've been covering previously here, where it's been a struggling team versus one that's been kind of dominating and the match results been fairly straightforward, this one's a lot more up in the air because both of these teams did incredibly well during their first Playday on stage, or of the stage here, and they're now going up against each other on day number 2. So Stokes, what do you think of this matchup? Just more general terms here before we start talking about specifics.
Honestly, you go into Coastline in between these two. This really just feels like a trial by fire for Skies. We're thrown right into the deep end here. We'll have to see how it goes. The last time that SSG ended up going to Coastline, I believe was at the Mexico Major, and I want to say it was up against Furia, and they actually ended up losing it. So I want to say later on down the line as well, they played it again, and they actually ended up winning, but they actually did end up losing it earlier on as well. But obviously, that's what Thinking Nade in, not with Skies in, and that's what we were talking about on the analyst desk. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to this matchup here, especially given the map, obviously, with Soniqs' track record.
So, with that being said, that is still going to leave this as a very interesting matchup, considering the open nature of Coastline. Once we talked about this during the last map as well, about how this map tends to differ itself quite a bit from a lot of the others in the pool, namely in the fact that hard breach becomes more of an option rather than a requirement. I don't know if that's entirely true for some of our sites anymore, considering the play we've seen and the change up to that VIP walls. It seems like that's pretty essential for attacking, at least in a very specific direction, but either way, a much more open map for these teams to play into certainly favors the Soniqs playstyle. For SSG, not so much, but as we've seen many times in the past, they have been able to still bring themselves to unfamiliar territory and come out on top regardless. So I'm not too worried for them going into this matchup, despite the potential prowess that should be coming out for the Soniqs.
Yeah, absolutely. With SSG not having too much practice so far with Skies, I think that's going to be the biggest thing that we'll see inside of this game is, how tight-knit are SSG currently with Skies in play instead of Nade, going up against the Soniqs on Coastline where they really don't have any VOD to go off of. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they try and use this overall.
We do have our community poll question, as usual, folks. You should be used to it by now. We want to know from you folks at home, this is not the first time these MVP caliber players have clashed. We want to know who will be the most valuable amongst these two today. Will it be Grixer from the Soniqs or Hot and Cold from Spacestation? Kind of a tough choice here, unlike some of our other polls here. These are two very maxed out players in their individual skill, and obviously Spacestation has Hot and Cold on the leadership role as well, so a lot potentially coming out from that. Make your choice, folks. Go ahead and submit it either here in the Twitch chat or on one of our many social channels, and Veli will have the results with the desk after the game.
Yeah, so that's a really hard choice. Given that it's social media, I am personally going to go with Hot and Cold, but honestly, I probably would have went with Hot and Cold anyways.
Well, it's not
just
about,
because,
it's not about it's not about picking the one with the most votes, right? It's about picking the one that wins, I guess, at the end of the day, right?
It's all in the heart of the cards. You just got to believe. Just believe, yeah. It's all about who you think is going to do the best. But that's what I was also saying is in between those two, personally speaking, I feel like Hot and Cold is going to have a pretty crazy impact. But obviously, Grixer has been such an insane player for the Soniqs as well, and that's what's going to make this poll so very fun. So make sure you guys go to all the social channels and check those out. But either way, folks, we're right around the corner from jumping into Coastline in between these two. The lobbies are full, and we are ready to get into the cast.
And we talk about Grixer leading between him as well as Rex, and they oftentimes lead to a bit of an extreme extent. I think we talked about this slightly yesterday with the Soniqs as well, about how they can be a somewhat top-heavy team from time to time when we look at their overall statistics, specifically in the KD department. We brought this up during yesterday's game, about how there's something like a 23 kill difference as you go from the other 3 members of the roster over towards Rex and Grixer's kill scoreline. So that just showcases the massive gap that is there in that department. But as usual, stats don't show or mean everything about a team's performance, so a lot of nuance to be brought into that discussion. Either way, though, it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to get started with the map itself. We're heading to Coastline for the second time, at least for the two of us today here, and it should be exciting to see who comes out on top. Both of these teams, as I already mentioned, having fantastic starts to the season, but unfortunately, only one can continue to excel here, so we'll see which of these two it ends up being as we get into the map versus the Soniqs and SSG.
Well, this is also going to be the second Coastline that we have here inside of Stage 3. You and I have gotten both of them, and they've both been today, and both within the last 3 hours as well. So, oh, would you look at that. Either way, though, Coastline now up and on the docket, folks. We're right into the ban phase here, as Soniqs will be handling the outside bans, and SSG will be handling the inside. Really like this ban to start us off here for the offensive. It's going to be Lion removed, even though we didn't see him inside of our last series.
Away from that, we'll get over towards the second ban now, and nothing too surprising is going to come out there. SSG just get rid of Thatcher. Thatcher's still kind of the last picked, or I guess first picked on the dodgeball team in this sense, and is going to end up getting knocked out every single time, pretty much as a result of that. Still just too universally useful as an operator. It's pretty much the same exact reasoning for Valkyrie as well. She's going to be next up to bat.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you played dodgeball in middle school, but you got to tell two of like the really good kids that they couldn't play. That's basically what it is. Like, hey man, I'm sorry, but you're just way too good at this, so we're just gonna remove you from play. Last band's gonna be Vigil here for the Soniqs. So actually, some very unique bands coming in here for them. Gonna be getting rid of the Lion as well as the Vigil. SSGs making the most sense to the overarching meta of how Rainbow Six is played with Thatcher and Valkyrie both out of the pool, but we'll have to see how Lion as well as that Vigil ban come into play here. We saw some Vigil play inside of our last matchup, but it doesn't seem like at least the Lion ban for the offensive side here is going to be affecting SSG all that much. They've already made some adjustments across the board here to try and fit that overall. We're gonna have Dokkaebi and Jackal along for the ride, and Yana all a part of that info unit trying to assist SSG.
All right, well, it should be interesting getting the Thunderbird pick in there. That's going to be my first
Oh, I didn't even see that on the defensive one. That's our first one, actually.
Yeah, that should be our first one. I haven't seen her picked in any other games just as of yet. So, going to be an interesting bit of utility to support, as obviously the heals will now be coming out. Second operator to be able to potentially do that since Doc at the very launch of the game. So, a pretty major shift in terms of what Defender utility is going to provide in the future. We'll have to wait and see exactly how Grixer will incorporate this into the setup along with the rest of the team.
I think the thing that's already standing out to me so far inside of their secondary utility is that they don't have any deployable shields. So that's going to make playing Vase somewhat difficult depending on how they want to try and go about it. They'll at least have the laser gate, but the laser gate doesn't stop bullets from flying through, obviously. They're going to end up putting two of the station setups inside of the Vase area. So we'll see if those will be able to assist in the healing department like we once thought. So the other thing outside of that when it comes to Thunderbird's kit is that she actually has an AR on defense. Yes, folks, she has the Spear 308, which if you guys don't play think it all too much, that's actually going to be her AR. So has that as well as a Nitro Cell. And honestly, that's the thing that catches me off guard the most inside of this kit right here, is the fact that it does indeed have a Nitro Cell. So, just kind of cool to have an AR as well as that Nitro inside of the kit. So we'll see what they're able to do with it inside of this one.
Well, already a good 30 seconds into the round, and as we can see here, Super getting a bit of usage out of that Kono station to bring himself back towards it after taking some earlier damage in the round. Leading down a bit, though, so not going to last him forever. But as we can see across the rest of the map, SSG obviously taking a bit of control for themselves, mainly towards service. They're going to use that as a launching point to go up through cool vibes, more than likely. Only a minute into the round, so we can very easily see that shift into something else if SSG determines that that is not going to be the correct path forward. But they've got a lot more work to do until they make that call, as they're still needing to get themselves access to areas like VIP, as well as a couple other key points on the map here. Grixer's still out and about, too, specifically over towards VIP, but is now going to return to home turf here instead.
Bomb located by attackers.
Slow and steady so far, but finally something bleeds, and it'll be the defense first. Kansan's been downed inside of Hookah, now dusted from the frag grenade. Rampy doing his damnedest with the skeleton key to break up all of this floor, and one of the best in the business when it comes down to it is one of his hallmark operators. We've seen him on for quite some time, so nice to see him back on this and getting some things done down low. This is going to give up Hookah for the most part, all except for the crosses that are being held here for the Soniqs. You can see Rampy getting ready to try and push up Vive. Skeleton key out as well here to see if he can possibly try and get a close quarters frag, but just want to try and play it out on timer instead. And honestly, not likely going to be the proper move here. Gonna get some good reads in from the drone, or at least the hologram of Yana moving up Cool Vibe stairs, but SSG does not want to give up the bag just yet. Yeti gonna make a move here, as well as a skeleton. He finally gonna get the frag here on vibes. Skies, though, start the plan. This is actually going to be a pretty secure location for them in order to do so. Super starting to push forward, though. He'll get stunned as he gets through the rotation here for Hookah. Fultz will be able to get at least one frag. Grixer getting one of his own as well, but this is all going down across the entirety of the map. Some of the odds and ends now getting cleaned up from the Soniqs as well, but it's still a 3v2. Make it a 2v2 after Yeti will get the kill inside of VIP hallway. With only 20 seconds remaining, SSG don't have a lot of answers as Boss goes downstairs inside of Sunrise. He'll have to try and barrel his way up Vibes as they really don't have any oversight for the actual plant that Skies is trying to procure. They would love to have another frag here if Bosco can possibly muster it, but no, Super with the initial frag. The SMG-11 singing true here, and oh no, it doesn't look like Bosco is going to be able to get much done in the clutch, even though that's what we would expect from him normally. It's going to be the round going to the Soniqs.
Another situation for the attackers just following through a bit too slowly on their actual execute, unfortunately. Good starts for SSG as they not only are able to get very early map control in offsite positions such as down towards service, as well as eventually working their way in through towards the VIP direction, but ultimately not able to do a whole lot with that after they get themselves the opening kill and are just stuck trying to waste down the time looking for more opportunities and more importantly looking to deal with the utility setup from the Soniqs, but never successfully completing that task. So just forced into that sub 15-second execute where once again Soniqs' setup becomes the main thing that allows them to push their way towards victory in the 2v2 there, specifically Yeti making his aggressive play from VIP to go out there, pick up the deciding kill, and leave the last member of SSG without really a play to make there. So good first setup for them. They get on the board at a 1-0 lead. Now we get to see where it goes from here. Unfortunately, Thunderbird, we're going to say goodbye to for the time being, though, as Soniqs did not get the use out of that utility that I think they were going to be happy with to continue using it in the setup.
Yeah. I honestly, I don't think that it was the worst thing in the world. I definitely like what they were going for there, and I can definitely see it working in the future. I think that's exactly the instances that we'll be seeing Thunderbird implemented as well, as kind of those areas that you really, really need to hold on to, like Vase upstairs in that given setup for Hookah, to where you're going to need that extra health when you are going to be combating people at the door and possibly catching some random bullets in from the window and stuff like that. So just having access to some extra HP pool is always a nice thing. The Soniqs are going to be headed downstairs now. Those will be headed towards double bar, and it's going to be a pretty traditional setup here with Super going to be on the Mira. He'll be in on the couches as of right now for Pink, as he'll be holding, or for Sunrise, excuse me, as he'll be holding things down. And as for the rest of the Soniqs, this is going to be a horizontal hold here with security as well as kitchen, both in their control, waiting for SSG's next move.
Still going to be very early days with regards to the strat, though. So once again, same as the last round, just SSG clearing out those free parts of the map that they're going to be given over by the Soniqs. Soniqs overall not trying to aggress too heavily, especially on the second floor here. So that's giving a lot of that early control over to SSG. But like we said, not really able to do anything with it based off of the first round's results. So we'll wait and see if that will potentially change up here after round 2 has completed. There we go. Once again, SSG going to get the first kill because of the freedom they're given, able to trap out Yeti this time on the mute and take him down before he can find any effective positioning or, more importantly, kills against the SSG attack. Not going to be the only member of the team, of course, that is out in open positioning, so we'll see if they can hunt anyone else down, such as Rexon over towards security.
So SSG starting their clear over in the Hookah side here as they'll be pushing across, although Hot and Cold does have white control already. Soniqs will be able to fire back, this time through a Nitro Cell, though. That'll take down Rampy. The Skeleton Key going to lay silent upstairs now for the entirety of this round. Don't really have access to any other soft breachers as well, but they're still going to have access to the secondary shotgun of Hot and Cold, so he'll still have some opportunity to open up some new sight lines that they'll have to try and worry about. As for SSG, they need to start trying to set up for their actual plant here, and that's why Skies is going to start moving outside. With that DMR as well, a lot of the crosses he'll be able to try and tag up. It's going to be some very serious damage, even if he's able to get a singular bullet into them. But as you can see, SSG starting to try and constrict around the office area now, as well as, well, more of this execute starting to come into the picture. Bosco with a big frag here. Grixer on the coattails, not able to get the damage off how he wants to. Hot and Cold will go down as well, but Grixer not ready for 2 at that door. Skies will fire back. It's a 3 versus 2 going into the last 35 seconds.
Gonna get cam access from that as well. Skies will take a moment to be able to pick all that up, so a little bit of extra intel going over the way of SSG here as we enter the final 30 seconds of the round. Super immediately gets flash dumped. No follow-up on the actual execute, and even worse, Kansan is going to be able to stop the play from Cool Vibes. Gets some great damage off onto Bosco as well, and now the kill on the follow-up here. Skies has to interrupt the plant as a result of that, and potentially go for the swing against Kansan, but no, we're not seeing it just as of yet. He finally pushes himself forward, not going for the res on Bosco. There's no time for it. Instead goes for the kill, but that goes right into Kansan's crosshair. He shuts it down, and the Soniqs take a second round instead.
Yeah, that was a very poor one from SSG, at least when it came down to that 2 versus 1. The oversight there from Bosco just steps up to the plate and gets eviscerated from Kansan, and that's definitely not how that's supposed to go. They're going to want that one back, and unluckily enough for them, but SSG, or for the Soniqs, though, lucky enough, they're able to get out of the thick of it. Looked like Kansan was not going to be able to get away from that there for a split second. Obviously, being that 3 armor, he's going to be very slow moving as well as quite loud trying to get in and onto that planter, so just really needed the oversee there from Bosco, but just were not able to secure it. Soniqs playing very well in map control of SSG, able to fire back in a lot of different scenarios there and at least keep the man count palatable for the entirety of that round. For SSG, though, they're able to still get close once again, but close is only good in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yep, pretty much exactly. So rough times for SSG here at the start of the game. That's the good news, though. It's just the start as we played out our first sequence of just 2 rounds here. And the Soniqs are going to be forced to continue rotating to different sites as well. So SSG constantly getting a new battleground to try and test the defenses for the Soniqs. And more importantly, after this round, we'll more than likely rerun the sites that the Soniqs have already won for themselves. So it'll be a very similar setup, and SSG will just need to correct the mistakes from before. Bad news is if that does end up coming true, possibility of a 3-3 scoreline at best is all SSG will have to look forward to on this attacking side. That's not going to be an okay situation for them, at least in my opinion, so I'm going to try and look for pick up here instead. Let's see if they can get it done. They're out on the board. It's going to be a bit of a split attack with opening focus going over towards potentially the Sunrise bar as well as the front lobby, but we'll see more accurate positioning of where these pushes are going to head towards in a second, as it looks like we get the office play first that they're trying to throw it into, and more than likely Yana's Gemini will probably head in there in a sec too to figure out Kansan's position.
Yeah, big change up for Kansan role-wise here, as well as previously we saw him on the Maestro. Now, this time around, he'll be on the Mozzies, so the playbook a lot more open for what he can do positioning-wise and his influence throughout the entirety of the early round here. As SSG are at least been, okay, super, we're shooting straight today. Oh my, heck of a shot onto Skies. He'll take him down, and that's going to be the Dokkaebi phone calls gone as well. Very big piece of the puzzle here for SSG, as they surely did not want that lead pick going to the defense.
Going to be very quiet here as both sides of this duel over here towards security do not want to be the one to make the first move. Soniqs have the luxury of being on defense here, though, so they're perfectly okay to sit here, as the longer they do that, the more time gets wasted. Additional pressure starting to work its way in. Nitro, that could be a big one. Only going to get them one kill, but Fultz replies right back with his own frag grenade and shuts down Yeti to keep the numbers somewhat even. Soniqs still in control, though, at a 4v3.
Well, besides some artillery going off in this area, it's going to be silent yet again here. No man's land, one would say, is for we see our men Bolt standing currently. Lots of his friends' corpses not laying around him. Needs to try and find something that he can possibly do inside of this situation, whether it be back off or what, we really don't know, but it looks like they want to try and add another piece to this overall strategy. Kansan's now locked in the corner. The window going to be here. Kansan can get one, and you're kidding me. You're absolutely kidding me. He's going to get out as well. Kansan has just been playing spoils to the SSG strategy the entire time that he's been allowed to exist inside of this game. And he gets away yet again here. This round, if it does go SSG's way, I mean, it's going to have to be a miracle work.
Bosco encroaching upon dangerous territory here, as his teammate will be joining him also. Kansan will be the one trying to stop this and gets it for free. Could very well get the second kill. He doesn't be careful that air jab's going to be behind him. He does have a few seconds to escape, and he's going to prioritize doing that as he makes it out of here without too much of an issue. He still has 3 teammates after all. They can manage this job just as well, and it's going to be Rexon hiding out here in the top box that finishes things off as the Soniqs continue to dominate, arguably even more so inside of that third round there compared to the previous 2, as they are really taking control of this first half at a 3-0 lead versus SSG. Now we go back to the rerun. rerun. Up on top here, SSG is also going to call for a much-needed timeout at this point. So we're going to start those reruns, and SSG needs to have their plan and their corrections from the original run ready to go and ready to put some rounds on the board.
Perfectly timed, because there is most definitely a conversation to be had here. SSG really aren't pushing their advantages in the moment. They're kind of not lacking on time, but they're more or less just not wanting to push forward and risk bodies in certain situations, which is perfectly fine, but it allows the Soniqs to make adjustments, and then when SSG does go for their play, like what we saw inside of the security area, Soniqs already have plans implemented to try and fire back and either refrag or get some kills of their own, and it's been working with flying colors thus far throughout the entirety of this game. So it's more than likely something that SSG is going to be looking into, how they can affect this early game and make sure to give themselves that strong advantage and make it to where the Soniqs can't do too much from their defensive standpoint. But it's been a beautiful defense so far from the Soniqs. Something that was said on the analyst desk from, I believe, Jacob was, if the Soniqs are going to Coastline, there is a definite reason as to why. Joe Bro and Super are not going to be going to a map that they do not want to play, and you can definitely see that the playbook has been very well written from the defensive camp currently.
Well, let's see here if that playbook will continue to excel, as once again Thunderbird brought back into. We will have that aggressive swing setup coming in once more from the Soniqs, as they'll use those Kona stations to kind of dockstand themselves up a bit before potentially peeking out. Whether it's at the big window, the hookah door, or one of the other many places where we could see the Soniqs get aggressive, they will be doing it on this round, as we'll start to see those stations get set up at some point in the next few seconds once they finish setting up the quad wall.
We'll get that put together, and then, as you said, get those Kona stations placed inside of a vase. And we didn't see too much action come from them the last time around. This really wasn't the place that we saw a lot of the action happening in the first place. So maybe this time around we'll get something a little bit different, depending on how SSG want to try and hit site this time. But as for everything else, it's looking like what we saw the last time from the Soniqs. Get some presence down low. They want to make sure, well, actually, cancel that. This is not what we saw from the Soniqs the last time, as actually SSG were able to get the buck in and handle Sunrise. There wasn't too much going on around this area. I believe that they did indeed have the kitchen player, but that was really about it. As for the SSG camp, though, they're going to be starting things off on the northeast side of the map this time around, so it could be simply going for a clear across from Penthouse.
It's not going to be a super heavily put down setup on any of these extensions out from the site, though, so don't expect any type of long drawn out battle in areas like Sunrise or the service position that you can see being taken downstairs. It's not even really the focus from SSG either. It's more than likely the Soniqs members are going to continue to move around and adjust based on SSG's choices in the first 45 seconds, which mainly are to head themselves over towards VIP, where once again they're going to take that free control for themselves, extending now into Master as of the past couple of seconds, and we'll see that continue to flourish out throughout the rest of the second floor. This is not where the resistance is coming from. It's down on the first floor that you're seeing a lot more of that.
Yeah, Soniqs going for kind of some vertical play, if you want to at least call it that, here in this bottom floor. Nitrocell-wise, only down to Grixer here, so won't be able to have too much of an influence in that department if they so choose, but definitely enough to try and stave off a plant from SSG and get that case stranded inside of sight. We're about halfway in through this round now, as SSG is still trying to figure out most of the plot. They've gotten some great staging ground, though, over on the far side of the map from Sky's current location, as we've been talking about before, Penthouse being the main area, as they want to try and have an effect over as they'll be pushing across. Looks like they want to try and take things the Aqua route here, which means that they're going to need a billiards window player as well. There's going to be some new sight lines added to the plot as well here, as Yeti will break up yet another wall here for Hookah, and the Soniqs have done such a bang-up job of making sure that they have locked out a lot of the opportunities for SSG to get these early picks, as well as the wall for Pink. No options for SSG currently.
In the final minute of play. That's terrible. That was the last smoke they had as well. Yeti's going to begin to shut things down. Hot and Cold's going to kill his teammate. Oh no, this just continues to look worse for SSG. It's going all one-sided right now. Finally, Hot and Cold can take someone else out on the other side of this. Gets himself another one as well, but ultimately it falls once again into the Soniqs' favor as they get a fourth round in a row against SSG here.
So the Sonics sit downstairs for the entirety of that round until the last moment, and then they're able to hop to up vibes and all the other facets that we ended up seeing those kills come from. With that being said, the Sonics being downstairs made it to where they were so unbelievably safe. For what SSG's clear was there. There was really no risk involved in them and their ability to hold map control, as well as with the angles that the Sonics had and they were able to play into. I mean, for instance, Rampy, I really don't know why you're simply just walking into Aqua there. They really don't have any intel. He simply walks into a sight line and just gets his head removed for him. There really just wasn't anything going on there where it said, hey, this is SSG's execute. They're going to start their push now. And bodies just start falling left and right. So just super unfortunate for them, given the circumstances. They lose Rampy instead of that kill from Yeti. Hot and cold, bouncing that smoke off of 90, as well as fragging out his own teammate. He's able to bounce back and get a pretty big 2K, but it would have mattered a heck of a lot more if these other mistakes weren't there first.
We'll see what exactly the setup's going to look like this time inside of the double bar for the Sonics. Usual heavy emphasis going down to restrict pool door access, and I think this is just going to be your pretty typical setup here once again, as there'll be plenty of rotate paths from the Sunrise hold into the blue position. Not going to be actively holding blue, not that we would ever expect that to come out of a team. I mean, just look at it. Where are you going to hide it? But we are going to see quite a bit of emphasis put on, of course, the rotatability of the lobby play back over towards the blue bar push should we see a successful push in SSG's hands from the office side of the map to take that site. That's what that Evil Eye is going down out in quad for right now.
All right, well, luckily enough for SSG, no one being lost just yet, but that doesn't mean too much to the overall story of what had happened inside of round 4 at a minimum. Sonics, as we said, allowed to exist for so very long inside of the map safely. SSG not having anything to do with that part of the problem. So we'll see if they're allowed to do so again or if things will pop off a little earlier here. This guy's waiting for somebody to pop the door. He's going to ping it twice for good luck as Rampy will pop that for him. So we'll be able to get as much info with that holo, and as we expected, it's going to go by very, very quickly. So here, once again, the Sonics will end up rotating out and get to play vertical over the top of the actual bomb side. They were extended out horizontally, made the adjustment now to try and get ahead of this SSG offense.
Only a minute gone from the round, so not going to be too much time wasted off the clock overall, but Sonics still with a large amount of control over here in SSG, looking to negotiate their way in towards lobby and service, which they've now taken for themselves. A very quintessential first step to pushing the rest of this play forward, but plenty more to be done. Kitchen's probably going to be up next. It does look like Sonics have already evacuated out of there for the most parts. It's not going to be too much of a problem, but still the mirror window is going to cause SSG to use at least a smidge of their utility to make sure that they get past it without too much of an issue, since they don't have intel on the other side. Away from that, you can see the drones starting to lurk their way in towards blue, and as well Sky's peeping things from the Gemini before he runs all the way through, and actually gets a couple second, a second or two. That might not seem like a lot, but in siege terms, it actually is a little bit of extra intel there as he runs his way in, and he's allowed to exist for just that couple extra seconds before he's successfully shot out. But either way, info now in the hands of SSG. Fultz and the rest of the team need to execute upon it. Fultz, the hesitation costs him as Yeti takes him down. Ultimately, though, doesn't matter too much. SSG able to trade that out 2 for 1. Move in. That's going to be the entire Sunrise defense. I think that gets killed between Rexon and Super, so the site is now completely open for the taking. Yeti's looking for a player in blue, but he's got the wrong read on the situation. Rampy now takes one out. Kansan's caught trying to move down cool vibes. Grixer, suddenly the only one that's left, and he's fighting against his own setup now.
Oh no, Grixer in a lot of trouble. Pistol out, trying to deal with the player on blue door. He'll take down Houghton, but now that's a busted mirror window here. At least no vision coming in from that to assist the remainder of the SSG camp. But Grixer on very low HP. Luckily enough, he'll get some insight onto the kitchen player through this busted hole. Nitro cell out. Oh no, lots of damage.
Got him.
Can he actually secure it? He can. Bosco will go by the wayside, but this is more than likely a round lost here for Grixer. He still has the pistol out. He's going to continue to try and fake the case here, but it's going to be a simple shot to the back for Rampy as SSG secures their very first round here in round 5.
Certainly, trying is hard out there at the end. Grixer was, but it was a futile effort at that point. SSG get those two very important kills onto the Sunrise defense, and from that point forward, the round is pretty much already lost for the Sonics. All the rotates they try to make, specifically from the upstairs part of the map, already are set up to be countered by SSG by the time those players actually commit themselves to the rotate and away from that. Grixer put out on an island by the time the rest of his teammates are dead. They're trying to swing his way back in through Office, but just had no easy path forward, and despite that, still manages to negotiate the 2 kills, but that's more SSG trying to mess around, get in his face, and waste the time that he had to get onto the site anyway. So a very well-earned first round being picked up there by SSG, but will it continue? That we'll get the answer to now as we're heading into the final upstairs hold for the Sonics. They're going to be, or excuse me, first floor hold for the Sonics. Here's they're going to go into kitchen and service, and we will see the Thunderbird brought out one more time.
You saw the Thunderbird and you totally thought they were going hookah, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I just like, I saw the bomb outlines like upstairs for some reason. I was like, oh wait, there's no bombs there. So
I do that happens
mistake,
all the time.
Yeah, it's all good. I just talked too fast. I was talking fast and I was thinking basically. So
the life of a commentator, my friend, let me tell you. But yeah, Thunderbird going to be coming into the kitchen setup here, so just more than likely want to see if they can possibly get some lives to last longer. I mean, that's really what the kit's for anyways at the end of the day. You know, and honestly, when you look at it, when it comes to kitchen, she honestly has a pretty cool kit for a lot of these positions as well, just given the Nitro Cell again, as well as that spear. You're able to take these long-distance gunfights and really deal some damage to people when you tag them up. So, you know, pretty good option to play inside of this scenario, simply because you do have that spear as well as that Nitro Cell as well if people do try and get some vertical play going on your position. So lots of different areas or lots of different avenues for Grixer to have an effect inside of this round, but we'll have to see what SSG want to do with this overall. Still sticking to the overarching strategy here. We had Fultz on Ash inside of that last round. This is not going to be any difference here. He was more of a distraction of a piece the last time around than he was anything. Ended up getting picked off upstairs, but SSG got 2 very nice frags inside of the actual site. They quickly were able to get a case down on as well, so didn't matter too much at the end of the day. A minute has already went by inside of the round and not too much action going down, folks, as you would presume, but we are still going to be having this debacle happen inside of security. 2 members inside of the actual building, 1 on the window, and it's going to be Skies getting tagged up. It's Kansan yet again on the receiving end, but he'll be able to stave off his elimination and still make it into lobby.
Kansan quick to realize in that situation too that he had the laser focus of pretty much the entirety of SSG boiling down on him. So makes the very smart decision, instead of trying to stick around there after he gets that damage off onto Skies, to back away instead of continuing the fight that up until that point was going well for him, to be fair, but definitely would not have been able to hold on had he made the decision to stick around there. I think it makes the good call for the long run of the round, and we'll see if that will be true in just a few moments here, as obviously he now holds control over the lobby front desk. Rest of his team still with a split amount of control of areas up and downstairs, so there is a big checklist of things for SSG to deal with, and once again, they're running very, very low on time to do it, but security control could be incredibly important to negating all of that upstairs pressure here if SSG is going to be able to move right past it.
SSG's entire strategy right now involves Vibes. They've locked up with multiple air jabs, mind you, the top of Vibes stairs. They want to try and get in through this kitchen door. They'll have a couple of different avenues in order to have an effect here, but oh no, the Banshee's going to end up catching him in the cross. Hot and Cold will get 2, make it 3. He just simply flies into kitchen and starts fragging out everyone dying to his blade currently. Hot and Cold will also start the plant. What can't this man do? Nitro Cell out. Somebody stop him. Oh, it can't be done. But no, our Parsec feed's going to go out as well. I really hope you guys are seeing this.
They're not, I don't think.
Oh, no.
All right, it's back
so
on
good.
We got it back there at the end on our program feed, folks, so you guys are seeing something at home. Just a housekeeping note to production, our feed is still, the caster feed is still currently down, but we've got it in the actual program, so we'll continue to cast off of that until the other one is
turned off
fixed.
the lights?
Either way, it's 4-2 now in the favor of the Sonics. As we just found out, they take that round and are going to be able to control it with a lead going into their favor. We're going to pause this real quickly while we figure out how to fix things.
All right, well, just to put it out there really quickly, I am also inside of the other feed, so we can operate from this if so necessary. It's perfectly fine. I'd much rather the viewers at home get to see stuff than us have a Parsec feed. Either way, though, SSG and Sonics, that round Really, really crazy from SSG, but most importantly, hot and cold. Truly incredible stuff coming out from him that really pushed that round over the edge.
And it was unfortunate that we didn't get to see it live, but we just got word from production that we're working on getting a replay of that final few seconds right now for you guys. So you are going to be able to see it. We obviously, apologies for the lack of momentum buildup there, or lack of payoff for the momentum at the end of the round, but you do get to see it in front of you now from our top-down perspective, so you can get some semblance as to how this ended up playing down in the 2v1 ultimately, as we're going to see things work out pretty well.
Well, that was very anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Just gets shot right through towels. There really wasn't much more to it.
Pretty straightforward affair at the end of the day.
Wait. I think that's the wrong replay. Isn't that the replay from the previous round?
You actually might be right, because it was a kitchen service defense, right?
One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, I think that was from the.
Yo, the NAL's acting kind of sus, man. I don't know. I think we need to get him off the ship.
All right, so we'll see if we can get the replay from that round on. If not, it's going to be unfortunate. But yeah, that'll lead us to a 4-2 scoreline ultimately at halftime, and we're just working on getting our feed up and running. Make sure that we can continue on with the action.
I don't think feeds run, John. I think they kind of just travel with light and electricity. Just to be fair.
Well, either way, I apologize there. Sorry, I'm trying to talk to like 3 different people right now.
You're perfectly fine, my friend. You're perfectly fine. Listen. I'm talking to nobody but you and everybody at home right now, so I can do this. You can go do this stuff and make sure that things work. That's your job, okay? We'll talk about other stuff over here, because right now the Sonics are looking really, really good. I think that SSG has gotten some of their adjustments set up here. Inside of that last round, especially, they were able to vie for security without losing too many bodies, and that was a really, really big thing. So awesome stuff coming out there for SSG, excuse me, as I'll be getting some pings as well in my ear, folks. But yeah, for SSG, they're actually able to vie for security like we were talking about before, and this time very, very successfully without losing bodies and that kind of stuff. Skies gets tagged up, but that's not too big of a piece there. So some nice stuff there from them, but they're able to at least get that to translate over into a take onto Kitchen through the windows, as well as securing out Vibe Stairs to make sure that nobody flanks. Then that's going to allow them to operate in that space. That's when we see Hot and Cold just turn on the burners, get that big triple, as well as the plant down all in one foul swoop. So definitely the MVP for that one.
At the very minimum, it did seem like this match is very much becoming that poll that we had at the beginning, the kind of Grixer versus Hot and Cold show. So at least that last round, it looks like we're kind of turning into that in some respects and making it obviously a bit of a 1v1 to some extent in that way. But still, once again, guys, we're just working on fixing this tech issue. And then we'll get things started as soon as we can.
Okay, well, we got a little bit of an update as well. Analysts saw it for the last round, so Jesse came in here and gave us an update really quickly, guys. Rampy had a really big play to protect the planter, and he ended up killing the last 2 guys in courtyards. So good on him, because some of those earlier rounds were definitely not going his way.
And once again, guys, I think we've got a fix set up for this issue, so it should just be another second or 2, and then we are good to go. Good to continue on with action.
I am good to go. Oh, yeah, there we go. Right.
Sorry, guys. Took us just a minute there to get all of our stuff sorted out. It was an issue for the casters, not the players, but we have it ready to go now. We have resumed the game. We apologize for the delay as much as we can on our part, but we are getting back into things now. And once again, if you are just joining us, it's halftime between the Sonics and SSG. The Sonics currently lead with 4 rounds in their favor. SSG has 2 up on the board there. The Sonics were able to negotiate themselves that final round at the end of the half. And now SSG has a lot of work to do in this second half. They want to try and reclaim the lead and keep the record for Stage 3, although it's only the second game after all. But still, keep it flawless among those 2 games and prevent the Sonics from getting their own.
Yeah, they would much rather have a flawless week here, especially up against the Sonics right now. This is a very, very hard-fought map thus far for them. SSG have basically been having to negotiate just for these 2 rounds that they've gotten. They've definitely not been taken in convincing fashion. So Sonics still having a very, very big part in this race. So we'll see what they can possibly muster for their offense as they will be out and onto the field now. Bringing in couple of new things here. We're not going to be seeing the Doka Bead Jackal setup like we saw from SSG. Instead, we're going to be having a little bit more soft destruction here in the likes of Kansan on the sledge. Also some Nomads being brought, but that's also what we saw from SSG as well. Those air jabs can be so influential over the late half of the round when those roams really start to have impact if anyone wants to try and throw a flank at you.
Well, as we see what exactly the Sonics try to build up towards in this first minute. Once again, it is going to be a very slow affair, just like it was during SSG's own attacking half. So you can't go rushing in, despite the fact that it's Coastline. You do need to take that measured approach, as SSG will have just as tricky of an early round gambit setup, just as much as we were seeing that from the Sonics in the first 6 rounds as well. Away from that, though, SSG continuing to hold in their own positions, but now possibly trying to get a bit more aggressive themselves. Not the case right now, though, at the moment. Rampy just knocking out the windows for extra audio cues and still keeping tabs on what may be happening on the other side of the map as well, while we wait for the Sonics to make their first move.
All right, well, as we know from the Sonics, they really like to default things out and make audibles mid-round as to what info they are getting. So we'll see exactly what they want to try and go forward with here. Not losing too many drones early, and that's what we would expect out of a strategy like that. Trickster will end up losing his, but he still has that Yana hologram, and that's definitely going to be something that'll need to be implemented correctly, as there's some laser gates around that could be a nuisance if not handled. So, SSG now, still just waiting to see if they can possibly get this initial frag. Sonics have been at least able to secure themselves some positioning in sight of 90, as well as VIP in part of this as well. Unluckily enough for Rampy, he's not going to have a nitro cell, so he really can't have any influence over these positions currently above him, but we could see some things going back and forth. Skies with a very big pickup onto Super as he's going to overstep into the VIP hallway, and now SSG going to shoot ahead going into the last minute.
Early lead built up for them. It could continue to build here as well. The Yana trying to push its way forward here as Grixer looks to get the first kill for the team, and he's going to find it, but Hot and Cold swings in kind of suddenly into Sunrise Bar here to trade that out pretty much instantaneously. The advantage that the Sonics were regaining for themselves immediately goes away, and SSG still stay very much in stable control of this situation. No longer with the player count to really aggress in entirely from Hookah's side. They're going to try to split this instead. There's a laser gate in the way at luggage. I'm not sure if Sonics actually expected to find that. They are going to have the utility to work their way past it here, but there's a lot more than that needs to be done. Bosco catches the planter for 3 just as the execute begins, and there you go. SSG's remaining members shut the rest of the play down, giving them their first defensive and a much better stance here to potentially come back into the game.
Yeah, so the Sonics start things off on the penthouse side and just simply go for a very, very straightforward offense from that position. They try and pick some things up around, billiards as well, with a rappel there late, as well as an aqua player coming in just to try and get the push on into that area. Obviously, if they have that VIP control, they're able to play the cross pretty well for that area. It makes it very difficult to try and get rid of somebody planting or things like that, and that's where the utility comes in from smoke and things along those lines. But either way, the Sonics were not able to even really get that off the ground simply because of some oversights going down inside of the VIP hallway. Super steps up to the plate and he's going to lose his head. And then past that, once the case goes down, SSG doubled down in that situation. The Sonics try and find some answers, mostly around the Sunrise area where they think they can slip through the cracks, and they think there's a singular SSG member there, and they're right. But the problem is that there was actually 2. So Hot and Cold, as you said, slips in at the last second, is actually able to make the play there as well to assist with Sky's pick up top and really make it difficult for the Sonics going forward. And past that, they really didn't have an opportunity to really take it to SSG. Very low on time, no real options to try and find any extra intel to assist them, and they simply have to try and throw it at the wall and hope it sticks. SSG are 1 round away from tying things up.
We'll see if they can get the job done. Certainly a solid stance being put up inside of the first round, but away from that, a lot more work still needing to be done. Good news is the Sonics now are in a rebuilding phase for this attacking side, as things did not go the way they wanted to in the first round in any extent, meaning they do need to come up with something new or potentially face the same issues yet again inside of the 8th round here. A little hiccup. As we move forward, we're going to see the Sonics start things off just by opening up the hatch. Not even really going to try to put pressure onto it as of yet, but inside of that drop leading towards the bathroom, instead it's looking like VIP balcony is where we're going to see pressure put on next. The wall's been left soft, so that's a very easy path forward, especially for Kansan himself because he's on the sledge, so that's going to open up the first path of attack. Second one will more than likely show up a little bit closer over here towards Sunrise. That'd be a great alternate angle for the push if the Sonics can get it, but it is being actively defended by a member of SSG, Rampy, downstairs, so it won't be the easiest thing in the world.
Well, for the Sonics, they more than likely didn't think that this game was going to be easy in the first place. So let's see if these adjustments will work for them. As we were talking about in the previous round, they really like to default things out and make adjustments inside of the round to get things done. So we'll see what they can possibly get done here inside of this one. Nitrocell will go off close to Rexon, but he's not going to take any damage from that, as he will sure to secure the top of white. No one really playing around him though, so he'll have to be self-sufficient as he'll begin to drone. Hot and Cold, currently playing inside of security, will be directly below him, but he doesn't really have anything to have an effect on his current positioning. Nitrocell is gone, so he'll simply have to play around this space for the time being. Some other actions going around the map currently. Some nice control from the Sonics inside of VIP. Kansan, Nitrocell, or actually Frag Grenade, excuse me, in through the drone hill, get rid of the shield, but then he swings right into the hallway and able to take down Foltz, who was caught lacking inside of Hookah. Very well done from him, an early pick that they desperately needed in the moment.
Bosco having to relocate here very quickly as he's losing so much control to play with, and unfortunately he's not going to be able to ever find it again. Kansan locking out Bosco, taking him down, and the Sonics seem to very quickly be regaining control over this round after running into issues on the previous one here. Finding that pickup, Happy going to be left alone now. Very low HP with the only support coming from Skies, the newest member of SSG. Still needing to try and find the impact himself, but he's going to get caught on a rotate. And now the only one that's left is Ramp. He's caught between a rock and a hard place as well on the rotate outside. And yes, still going to trade at the end of the round, but it matters not. The round still ends. The round still goes into the favor of the Sonics as they pick up one more and inch them that much closer to the GG point here. Only 2 more rounds needed for them to seal the deal on their second win. Could do it in the same fashion as yesterday's game, too, at a 7-3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Sonics are looking very, very good right now. That was a well put together offense that they were able to end up putting together there. We're going to have a tech pause in from Super, so more than likely somebody going to be backing out and back in here momentarily, guys. So don't worry about that. Should be pretty straightforward from here. So yep, it is officially going to be called, so that is all good. Either way, though, so the Sonics, as they will be on their tech pause. Obviously, your coach can't talk to you during this time, folks, just to remind you guys. But for the Sonics, they will still be able to at least talk with the members that do have a working microphone currently. So for them, once again, the offense put together very, very well. SSG simply could not try and gather the map control back that the Sonics had already procured. They got that top control very, very early on, and not only that, but they were able to also get control of White Stairs and start pushing things across, making it to where SSG were really only allowed to exist inside of the hookah area. And that's all great and all fun, but from that position, you really can't get too much done when it comes down to what the offense truly wanted. So very unfortunate for them in that situation. But either way, though, SSG still have some opportunities to try and bring that back. And it all starts here with the double bar defense.
As we continue to look at the more unique setups we'll get out of SSG here, we're not really going to find one in this round, unfortunately, just because it's the double bar setup. This, so far at least, is going according to the way we usually see sites get set up over here, as you're going to see that peppering of the soft wall leading out to quad to set things up for the other side of the map, where, once again, we're going to get a bit of an extension over here into the kitchen and service department, and the same will apply to the front lobby, which is why we see all those holes, like I said before, in the soft wall that's being made right now by the Mira, and the majority of the on-site defense is going to be focused on Sunrise. No major departures from what we normally get here.
No, not at all. And now the Sonics out and onto the field, and they are going to be starting things off with, well, what we saw quite often inside of our previous game here, at least for the double bar offense, is getting control of Office and trying to have some semblance of control across the entirety of this side of the building. But they're going to have some obvious things in the way here, and that's going to start off with the mirror windows from Bosco, as he's going to have very good overwatch over blue bar, trying to make sure that no plants can go in safely. behind this area. Actually not going to have any plays from SSG inside of security currently. They do have a player over towards lobby, so this wall will be secured as Blue Bar already starting to take some heat in a certain sense. SSG more than likely going to have to start adjusting across the board here to see what what Soniqs really want to do. Getting some good drone placements as well. They're going to be able to keep an eye on Bosco's antics going forward.
Bosco spotting some of the pressure broiling its way in from office. I don't know if he caught the fact that I believe a player snuck their way through, although that doesn't actually look like it happened. The silhouette's getting the better of me yet again here today. The Nitro finally chucked out. Player ready for it, though. Quickly turns their heels the other direction. We'll be able to escape it. Good stuff on Super for dodging that. Now we've got the plant opportunity presented before him. Attacker utility is pretty much going to stop any attempt from the defenders to interrupt Super's plant attempt, too. So it goes down pretty much flawlessly. Great work from the Soniqs after we saw the Nitro cell chucked out there to respond with their own utility. And as you can see, SSG suddenly stunted. The air jab's going to be the first warning. The second will come from the run-out noise. Regardless, though, they get the first kill in the post-plant itself. It's going to be traded out immediately by Grixer. Kansan finding another one, and SSG slowly losing control. Hot and Cold seems to be the only bright light in these retakes right now for SSG, but Skies has come out to lend a hand as well. He takes down Kansan. Grixer and Yeti, the only two left, but Yeti now in this, moves in, needs to interrupt the counter defuse attempt, though, as he's going to encroach upon it. There we go. Yeti stunts it from happening, and that would have been it. That would have been the round going into the favor of SSG, but instead, it's the Soniqs that fended off with their great plant and post-plant positioning to push them up onto map point.
That was a very quick moving Soniqs offense there. And that's what I meant when I was talking about, Blue Bar already taking some heat early on. It's not just like gunfire and utility being poured in and stuff like that matters. That wall being busted is a huge piece as to what the Soniqs want to do. They don't have that much hard destruction. So when those panels bust, that's more than likely going to be their play. SSG just simply didn't get enough control back in time to really have anything to do with that setup. The positioning which Super planted as well was just very well done from the Soniqs. They actually end up planting basically like halfway into blue with like his butt hanging out of the hole that they ended up making in the wall. And that makes it to where he's somewhat safe, I want to say. I really don't know the angle all too well for this position. I will be 100% honest with you guys. But from what it looks like, he's very safe in that position for the courtyard angle. You could probably see like a little bit of his hood or something there. That's why I'm being a little bit, cautious about telling you guys it's full on safe. I don't want you guys just throwing yourselves randomly into sight or anything like that crazy. But it's just really, really done well there for the Soniqs simply because of the wine rack that's to the right of that wall. So they're able to get in there, get that done, and the Nitro cell already being blown up. That should have been a red alert for SSG at that moment, and they just were not able to get anything back in convincing fashion to try and take that round away from the Soniqs. Very well done from Yeti in the clutch as well there, because it was getting quite scary when it got down to that 1 versus 2.
So let's see what could potentially be the final round of the map here. SSG looking to finally take some solid control for themselves. They've already done it before, had a great first round at the beginning of this half, but have been unable to transfer anything else since then. So the Soniqs really taking full control of this matchup and of Coastline. As we saw, that was a big part of the discussion in the pregame, was this map going to be the make or break point for the Soniqs, and it seems like it's made it in a lot of ways here. They're only 1 round away now from shutting out this matchup and getting a victory versus the former world champions, although with a bit of a different roster now, obviously. Hot and Cold, though, gets the first strike in this round as Kansan tries to creep up on the windows, but instead it is going to be SSG that creep up on the Soniqs and take down Kansan.
Well, the hunter becomes the hunted. Early blood here for SSG. They'll be able to take down Kansan, as we've just been talking about. So Soniqs more than likely going to be acting quite slow here, and the entirety of the Soniqs camp existing inside of the same 15 square feet right now. They're going to start spreading out, though, as they work their way into office. There's a nice aqua hold going on right now for SSG, and they're actually going to be reversing this panel, and oh no, Grixer. Well, actually not Grixer, but Bosco running directly into a frag grenade from Grixer. It's going to get rid of that shield position, as well as that panel getting blown up from those X-Kairos down below. It was just becoming very risky to hold on to that space, and ends up waltzing right into an explosive device. He'll lose his life. It's going to be a 4 versus 4 going into the second half of this round.
Seeing what else is potentially going to be presented to our defenders here. The Soniqs look to set up their final moments of the play. Although mainly with downstairs control right now, trying to shift their way forward over there to be able to steal Sunrise and then use Cool Vibes. But this is, again, a very early step for the most part in Sonic's overall game plan. It does seem like it's going to be a straightforward Aqua play aside from that. So the downstairs player acting as late round support, potentially going to be making the Cool Vibes push very late into the action as a bit of a surprise against SSG's retake more than anything. But we'll see all that come to fruition over the next few seconds.
Absolutely. Down to crunch time here for both of these squads. Something's got to give. We're about to find out which side will indeed be that. So, Super start breaking things up here as Rampy is actually going to move in from White Stairs. He's going to take him down. He's got this flank down and secured. Grixer will at least be able to get one of his own, so he'll shore things up into the 3 versus 3. But he's got to know that a flank's coming through here momentarily, but it seems like it's been covered. Frag Grenade actually going to get eaten up from the Wamai disc. He's going to start the plant at the same time. Does the Nitro Cell have it? It does. SSG making the proper moves at the proper time, and they'll get away with round 10. The utility coming through at the proper moment, and they're able to get the frags on the other end as well. SSG keeps Soniqs off of match point.
Yeah, SSG, and once again, hot and cold there in the very bitter end of the round there, right?
Oh, I'm so very sorry for that. I really thought Soniqs was at 5. Apologies, everybody.
Oh, no, it's all going to be good. So that is going to keep us close, though. Either way, the Soniqs are going to take their time out here. Things are getting very close on the overall scoreline, so not too bad of an idea to take things a bit carefully here. You have the timeout, right? Might as well use it for yourself, considering what could potentially happen if you don't use it. Well, nothing, really. You just don't get the timeout. So Soniqs might as well take this one here just to try and iron out this upcoming strategy to its fullest extent so they can try to get a clean execute going for themselves and try to take care of this match in the quickest terms possible. For SSG, though, they're rounds away from closing the gap themselves, so overtime very much in the cards. Remember what that means for the overall league standings, so that you guys can be aware of what will potentially happen there too. If we go to overtime, the point totals are going to decrease. That does mean the losing team will no longer get 0 points, but the winning team as well will get a reduced point total for taking the map.
Yes, indeed, my friend. Instead, you get 2, and the loser will get 1 if SSG are able to secure these next 2 rounds. 10 seconds left on these tactical timeouts, folks, and then we will get back into the game. And SSG will be headed towards Penthouse Theater for what could be possibly their last defensive standpoint. Sky's going to be on the mirror here, a big piece to the puzzle, as well as some change-ups recently here on this defensive site that John and I have got to talk about today, and both of us actually forgetting about the panels inside of VIP, which was absolutely hilarious. But yeah, so lots of new ways that you can actually end up holding on to this site, as well as some new angles to take gunfights from that we were seeing earlier on as well, over towards billiards through the VIP wall with some of the new space that they've created around the bookshelf.
Well, we're going to get into this setup specifically, see what SSG are going to provide for us over here on Theater. Not looking too crazy right now, although we unfortunately do have a bit of a reduced feed for the casters right now, so it's a bit hard to pick out some of the particular details, but you're going to see that usual emphasis on fending off pressure, specifically from VIP, with the big bunkers going down over inside of the theater site itself, as well as inside of positions like Hookah that we're going to see deployed to. Now the Cade, of course, setting up that middle wall for himself and the ability to play for both sides of it should we see early Aqua pressure from the Soniqs.
5 seconds to go.
Most definitely. 0-0 now here inside of the prep phase, action phase now out and ready here in between these two. And SSG with quite the extended hold for this site. Obviously, like we were talking about with this bookshelf angle now being a new and improved thing to play in towards billiards, is actually going to make it to where a lot of these different angles that could have possibly put players like these players out towards the west here in a lot more trouble can actually be handled from other areas. So it's going to be a little bit easier to hold on to this space and prevent things like players coming in from Hookah from getting that initial control. They're actually going to have to work together as a team, use that utility, and clear out that space, whereas it could have been a one-man job before in quite a few different situations. Hot and Cold going to be taking a lot of heat, though, and that's going to be from the window angle up here. That's Rexon delivering that, as well. He's going to step a little bit too far into the hallway, and it'll be a simple roof shot that does all of that.
Minute gone from the round. Sonic still taking their time outside for the most part, as there's a lot of info to grab, and it's changing rapidly, so it's very hard to make any sort of aggressive moves if you're on the Sonic side of things right now, just because any info they get has an even shorter expiry time than you may be used to in siege terms, so they need to react pretty much instantaneously. Either that or try to get preset drones to the inside of this site that don't get detected, but as you can see with the player spread from SSG, that's going to be a very hard task to accomplish, as they're watching every single angle all of the time, so sneaking in a loud RC drone is not going to be the easiest thing in the world. They're pretty much throwing them at them, having them get shot, and trying to react off of the intel as best they can, but still here with time continuing to grow lower, they will eventually have to put their best foot forward, as we've seen many times in the past, and Houghton now taking a direct challenge despite the low HP versus Cans and way in the back of Billiards. Nearly actually manages to take him out right there, but ultimately only gets 1 or 2 bullets.
And to continue to slow down the Sonics camp as well. This offense has been slowly grinding away the time. Not too much going on for them in any given term. Up until now, they'll be able to take down Rampy, and that's also going to leave Hot and Cold, the soft body, up as well. So more than likely be able to secure that kill if Hot and Cold oversteps. So starting to look like SSG could be running into some problems here, but Fultz, in a very pivotal position. He's currently playing inside of base and more likely allowed to exist here for a little while longer. Hot and Cold's actually going to take down Grixer as well, so even on low HP, still making some very big impact. And now Sonics need to get something done here. Some nice shots from Fultz. He'll be able to deal so much damage. Doesn't want to push in just yet. It's a Nitro Cell and the pistol from Fultz as well. It's all down to Yeti, who'll get cleaned up from yet another Nitro Cell. It's a triple kill for the Kaid on literally 10 HP.
That was Houghton again, right? On the Kaid?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yes. At any moment in time, he just like flicks a switch. He's like, all right, I can like kill half your team.
It's always like
right
the end
now.
of the round too. It's always like the last like 2 or 3 kills. It's just like him like fragging out with multi-frags. I don't know what it is, but this man's been activated on the defensive half, it seems, and is doing a massive amount of work here. Not the be-all, not the be-all, end-all sort of player in most of these rounds. He's kind of just finishing things off for the most part, but still having a massive contribution and doing it in nearly every single round that this team is fending off the Sonics. They've nearly taken it to OT now. 1 round is all they need to pull off, but at the same time, due to the deficit, 1 round is still all the Sonics need to close this game down in the very end of regulation, which would still give them the full 3 points for this game.
Yeah, Sonics just... The well ran dry, John. The well ran dry when it came to the info game. And once it did, the Sonics were dead in the water. They really didn't know the way that they wanted to go forward with that. So they went for what they thought was the best overall strategy. And SSG just simply pounded them into the ground because of that. Very unfortunate for them. But obviously, they still have one more opportunity to secure this inside of regulation. And we'll say this one more time for you guys at home. Remember that OT does indeed pull away from the Sonics. So this round is going to be very high octane for them. They have got to win this round if they want those full 3 points. As for SSG, if they want any points at all, they need to win this as well. So this is where the rubber hits the road. This is where you separate the boys from the men, one would say.
Indeed it is. And unfortunately for the Sonics, they seem to have hit a brick wall in terms of their ability to try to win out rounds here. Things starting to shift better for them at a midpoint inside of this half, but still never really able to push the envelope forward. They now need to do so with this one final round, or they'll ultimately just be left with an even scoreline versus what SSG brought to the table in their own opening half here and have to face off against OT. And like Stokes said, it'll be at minimum 1 less point they'll get if they win it, and 2 if they end up taking the loss in OT. But they have at least guaranteed 1 by making it to the 6th point before SSG did. Away from that, though, to focus on what the Sonics are doing inside of these opening few seconds. Once again, similarly to the previous rounds, just waiting for an opportunity more than anything here. And Rampy taking an opportunity, it seems, as he catches just a slight mistake there on the air jab, which allows him to creep through and take it out, so he'll have the greater freedom to rotate through that direction. Hot and Cold does spot the air jab going down over towards security, so he knows that they're inside of office and have taken control. And now it's up to SSG to focus up against the office play yet again and be prepared to stop this. This is where they failed last time.
Obviously no mirror windows this time around for SSG, but doesn't mean that they don't have options to try and stop this. You can see what the actual strategy is Skies with his yokai drone and his ability to be able to stop plants with that utility. So going forward, more than likely going to be leaning on that as much as they possibly can. We'll have to see Skies operating that throughout the rounds, making sure to be attentive to what he is always doing, because that info is going to be extremely important. SSG really set up for this time around. You can see last time truly was a mistake, just simply did not have the positioning set up to try and defend this position away from the Soniqs. And well, now it seems like it's all going to come down to this. Everyone primed and ready, frag grenades out, stun grenades out, and now the stuns starting to pour in. Where is this plant going to go down though? The nitro cell goes out. They're actually going to flood directly into the back of Sunrise. Kansan's going to get a big frag, and they've taken complete control of Sunrise. What has happened here? SSG, everyone's left to space. Fult's dead, Bosco gone, Hot and Cold gets one, but now he's downed and dusted as well. They've at least been able to get in behind Couch, but the plant's down behind the bar, and they know that positioning as well. Super, with such a strong arm here, he'll be able to complete it, and the Soniqs win 7-5. What an audible to adjust into Sunrise and get that plant down. SSG, ill prepared for that.
It should be no surprise that the Soniqs give us a show on the very final round there to try to win out the game, and it succeeds also. Instead of going for the same default plant just through the edge of the wall between Office and Blue, they make the executive decision after losing top-down control from that Nitro. So, okay, fine, we're going to take the fight right to them on the inside of Sunrise. I don't know what spurred it, whether it was the top-down angle disadvantage or they possibly noticed from a drone that there was a very weak defense inside of the site. They made the call, though, and it was the right one as they sweep in, take control, and after a lengthy gunfight, win out that final round after much delay to a final scoreline of 7-5.
What an incredible round, and a great game from them overall as well. I mean, definitely had a strategy that they had fully thought through to take to SSG here on Coastline. Well, that's the first Coastline we've gotten out of the Soniqs in a very, very long time, and for a regulation match, definitely say that was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, definitely the case there. Still some work to be done on the attacks, don't get me wrong, as with a lot of teams right now. It seems attacks are a bit of a pain point, but very solid defense being put up there, and even creative to some extent, right? Bringing the first Thunderbird into play there, although it didn't really work out the way they wanted it to, I think, or at very minimum. We just didn't get to see a great example of that usage as of yet, but I see what they're trying to do, and it makes absolute sense, specifically for the sites that they brought it on there, where you have that greater proclivity to potentially like swing out against your opponents, having that extra bullet or two of damage you can take. It might be the make or break advantage in those situations. So it's some cool stuff from the Soniqs, and hopefully we continue to see more of that as we get deeper and deeper into the stage.
Yeah, but as for SSG, definitely not what they wanted to see at the end of the day. They'll at least be able to get within shouting distance of Soniqs, almost able to make it to OT, but obviously not the case here today. So they'll have to go back to the drawing board and see what they want to do with these adjustments. But again, folks, remember, Skies just got into this lineup for Thinking Nate, I think, what, now 10 days ago, 9 days ago, something like that.
Very, very
so,
quick.
you know, I would say all things considered, they're playing very, very well. It doesn't seem like they're scared in the slightest to make adjustments, call audibles, do these things that are very, very needed from your players in Rainbow Six. So tip of the cap to them as well for a great showing here on Coastline, but obviously still some things to iron out.
Hot and Cold, though, still very much the highlight of the day when we talk about individual efforts over here on SSG right now. Always used to be Rampy and Fultz. They're probably to be fair in terms of overall frag. I think they're still leading in most of the categories. But today, man, at those end of round situations, when the comeback was happening, it was happening in those late round stares, mainly because of the efforts from Hot and Cold, shutting down those final kills so many times as the team was trying to claw their way back towards that 6-6 scoreline at the end of the map.
Yeah, absolutely. Hot and Cold, I mean, we've been praising him so much throughout the entirety of this season, even from when he was on Mirage, now on SSG. I mean, there's not enough words that we can say about this guy. As we've said before, John, we've said this a million times, he's just always hot, never cold, ever. Like, the games where he does badly, he's just playing like a regular player. He's not like 3-12 or something drastic. He's like 7 and like 8, you know, like whatever. It's just like a regular score line. It's just so incredible to me, the amounts of, not repetition, but how he can basically just show up every single time that he's needed. It's just so well done from him, and something that SSG is definitely happy to have with their organization.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for myself and Stokes, but we got a treat for you as we throw it back down to Veli and the rest of the desk. He's got Yeti waiting with an interview, so let's throw it back down to them.
And don't call it an upset. Soniqs, they took out Spacestation Gaming in a very exciting game here on Coastline. But I'm going to interview the one and only, my boy, the man that works out looks like 10 days a week. It's going to be the one and only Yeti, and I can't wait to talk to him to break down everything that happened. Yeti, what's going on? Get to talk to you again, Yeti, but I have one question I want to ask before anything else. What went through your minds when you guys ran into Sunrise Bar and nobody was in there for the final plant to win the game?
We were kind of stalling out when we had information on the positions around the courtyard area. They were kind of contesting our blue bar plant, or the blue bar execute. And I think Seth made the call to just like, okay, we got to do something. We're stalling out here. Evan said he could hit Sun. I doubled up with him. He got a pick and Sun. We just ended up just running through, and I don't know. The picks went our way, and we got the bomb down, won the game.
Hey, the game plan and full trust work. Shout out to Super for that call. But Yeti, Alexander, you know, you're my boy and all. I was rooting for you guys when you went to Mexico. I didn't get to talk to you guys about Mexico at all. What happened, and are you guys going to get better? Did you learn from your mistakes, and are we going to see a better Soniqs from this point on?
Oh, definitely, 100%. We learned a lot of lessons in Mexico. I definitely think we came out a better team than what we were going in. You know, we got a lot of good first-hand experience with the international competition, how to maybe approach our own game planning and preparation, things that we could work on internally inside the team, like communication and adaptation. And then, of course, what we're going to do differently next time we make a major. We didn't change too much going into the NAL in terms of preparation because, I mean, it's the same stuff for the most part. And the competition is something we're familiar with, whereas, obviously, international competition is very different.
Yes. Now, this is a very curious question about, you know, you guys and your play style. Has there been anything that you guys have been specifically working on heading into the stage? And one of the reasons why I asked that has to do with your map pool, actually, because seeing you guys go to Coastline, Jacob, Jesse, and I flipped out on the desk. We didn't know what to expect, but you guys knew what you were doing. Is that one thing that you guys are working on? And if so, is there anything else?
Our map pool isn't what the analyst desk or the fans or even our competition thinks it is. They just want to take us to the same map over and over again for whatever reason. I'll be honest. I mean, we're a pro team. We play the majority of the map pool, but people just say, hey, let's take them to Chalet. Hey, let's take them to Consulate. Hey, let's take them to Oregon. It's the same stuff. I mean, that's on them, not us.
Hey, Yeti, I love the honesty, man. You know what? Hey, you're right. That's why I wanted to ask the person who would know it best. But I'm going to leave this last bit for you. You already know the deal. Show some love to the viewers out there and the fans that are rooting for Soniqs, and give them a reason why they should tune in next time to watch you guys win again on main stage.
Well, you should tune in to watch us because we're probably the most entertaining team. You know, we yell at people, we win, and we look good doing it. Shout out to the fans. We love all y'all. Shout out to the haters. We love y'all more, I guess. And shout out to SQ, baby.
Oh, yeah. Yo, Yeti, I miss you, man. We got to get together sometime soon. I love you. I hope you have a great night. Give the rest of the team my love as well, man. We'll see you guys next time on that main stage, all right?
Got you, bro. Love you. Take care.
All right, you take it easy, man. Oh, the analyst desk are going to love this. Jesse, Jacob, we got some tidbits. And while the replays were brought to us by Predator to show how Soniqs were able to dismantle Space Station Gaming, that was really interesting, actually. So it seems like Soniqs have way more in the bag than what we see on screen.
I mean,
Yeah,
like, to a certain extent, I do think that's true. Jess, you want to know what I think it is, honestly? To a certain degree, I feel like when they played Chalet as often as they did in Mexico, they played it twice. I think when they came in and played it yesterday, there were probably some things that they looked at and went, oh, yeah, we probably can make some minor adjustments there. Coastline, you didn't have any way to prepare for it against the Soniqs, especially given the last time they played it was so long ago. Their roster wasn't even, like, relevant back then. They were still ironing the kinks out. So it's great to see a map that they've not played in a really long time be met with this much success, and SSG kind of got caught napping through those first 4 rounds, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I was really happy to hear that with the map pool. I was happy to see this win as well. I mean, I think we've always kind of known that, like, Soniqs, it might not be a weakness the way that they've been playing their map pool. Obviously, they're very successful on the maps they like to bring, so it was nice to hear that. And then, of course, the antidote at the end. We win, we look good doing it, and we're loud. That's exactly what I want to hear from the Sonics, and I hope that continues.
So the stats are really interesting. The bit that we spoke about before was Super, and hearing what Yeti has to say as well. I mean, Super is the chief in command, right? Him staying alive until those final seconds to make those game-winning calls seems to win maps for them. Shout out to Soniqs. But also on top, Grixer yet again, 13 kills, 7 deaths. But check this out, boys, 100% calls. But on the flip side, Hot was never cold with 16 kills, but the rest of Space Station Gaming, I mean, yeah, the stats aren't bad, but they still didn't get the win. Fellas, Jesse, how often is it that we see 100% costs, man? That's insane.
That's very rare. That means, for those who aren't aware, that means that he had an impact on every single round. 100% of the rounds he was impacting in one way or another by getting a kill or staying alive or planting the defuse kit, whatever it may be. So that's a huge statistic for Grixer to be bringing out here. Obviously, I believe it's the first one we've had so far in Stage 3. It's been come up a couple of times before, but still very impressive stuff from Grixer. And you can tell, like, he's not just like hiding in the back line, staying alive and trying to get his 100% cost based only on survival, right? He's out there getting those kills, 13 and 7. That's a well-earned 100% cost.
And by the way, for those of you out there that don't know what cost means, kills, objective, survivability, staying alive, and trade. So that means that Grixer was just fully effective, like Jesse just said. But Jacob, whoo, we said it was going to be a good game. You picked the Sonics. You won with that one. Shout out to you for that. But
100% on the day, baby. I'm back.
Okay, relax. Me and Jesse are going to school you next week.
Who got the laptop?
Anything you want to talk about that we just saw right there on Coastline, man, they didn't disappoint.
No, they didn't. It was a slow start thing. That's really all it was for SSG. Hot and Cold had the impact that he needed when they switched over to the second half, but that just came too late. A 4-2 half on Coastline isn't necessarily bad, but I don't think that the buffs that Coastline got for this patch mean that it's always going to be defender-sided now. I don't really want that to be the route that this goes, because they were minimal enough that shouldn't change how the map is played overall. Sonics just got 4 rounds in a row on their defensive half, and by that point, I kind of figured it was probably already over. If it was 3-0 and then it turns into a 3-1 on round 4, that might be a little bit different, and there was a chance that SSG could have gotten that, but that 4-round skid was already enough to make me think this might be an insurmountable task for SSG, and time told that it was.
I feel like the insurmountable task that we're all about to be put on right now is guessing the MVP of the day right now, because we've had a lot of good performances. Now, one part of me wants to say Grixer, because, what we just saw that map with 100% cost and just popping off is great. But Hot and Cold was crazy. You heard Stokes going wild for him. Stokes probably wants to just give him a big hug right now. Who do you guys think won MVP on the day?
There's a lot of options, I think. There's no clear, obvious answer like there was Playday 1.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Grixer is an obvious candidate, but I can't leave Vertical out, because I think he had 14 kills against Mirage. Like Foxay right below him, even playing like hard supporter Rooney, I think was really good. Yeah. So there's 2 OXG players in contention, I think.
I'm
Maybe
thinking
DP
of the Fire too.
Right, you're right. I'm thinking about the Astralis and Excite game as well. DP Fire, yes, but the impact by far, in my opinion, is Grixer, because that type of performance, thumbs up for me. So
what's production got for us?
Let's see what the MVP is. Production, give us your best. Let's see if we're right again for the second day in a row, because usually we're not that good, but it's Vertical.
It's Vertical.
Vertical gets it. Good. Now, this is the OG and the MVP of the day. When I came into the scene, seeing Vertical on Rogue and just seeing everything he was doing after that, this guy is incredible. I was continuously told he has the best aim in the game, and the last 2 play days shows exactly that. My man's right there, Franklin Cordero, he just popped off, and today he's going to be your MVP. Any thoughts about that, fellas?
I mean, that 14-8, it's not even just today's performance, right? It's yesterday as well. Vertical had a huge day in that game against TSM as well. So Vertical's putting a ton of work at the start of the stage. I think he's one of those entry players that sometimes is a little bit quieter, but he still has such a huge impact on the team. And to see him with this new formed Oxygen Esports come out and get all these kills, man, it brings a smile to my face.
I probably said his last name wrong. Vertical, if you hear that, just don't hurt me, okay? I'm only a little bit Puerto Rican. My pronunciation is terrible. But Jacob, any thoughts about the new look Oxygen as a whole?
I'm just happy they're back. if I'm honest. I know the reasons they got success in stage 1 was due to 2 brand new players revamping a playbook, trying to make everything a secret from their opponents as soon as they brought those 2 new players in. But it's great to see Vertical back in form like this, especially given that I think he and Yaga might have been almost competing for the same job on the same team in a sense, but Yaga hasn't been doing the same things that Vertical's been doing through just 2 games, and already we're seeing OXG at the top of the leaderboard, tied with SQ for first. It's like we're back in stage 1 all over again or something.
I was just about to say that, man. I'm getting major flashbacks. Matter of fact, let's just take a look at the standings right now to see what's been going on. If you guys remember in stage 1, it was a pleasant surprise. We saw Oxygen and Soniqs on top of the leaderboards, and in the same way again, we see Oxygen and Soniqs on top of the leaderboards. There's been a little mix up there with Beast Coast being in the third spot. I can't talk, man. But with SSG joining them, that's gonna be our top 4. Fellas, I mean, it's safe to say, Jesse, this is obviously going to change about 30 times in the next 2 play days.
I mean, it is, but the important thing for both Auction and Soniqs, remember, their only realistic chance of not going to SI was if they get dead last 9th place. Going 2-0 for your first week basically makes that impossible. I mean, it is still possible for these teams to get dead last, but like, we have never seen a team get 2 wins and also get dead last. This should be already enough to secure them out of that and lock down an SI. We can't say 100%, but at this point, it looks incredibly unlikely that either of these teams won't be at the 6th Invitational.
And, oh, this hurts. I'm not picking on them. I promise I'm not. Let's take a look at the schedule for the upcoming Playday. Playday number 3 on September 14th. It's going to be a good one. First matchup of the day, we're going to see Astralis versus Oxygen. But the point I wanted to call out, fellas, because I'm looking at the overall schedule. And XSET, I want to see a new XSET now because the easiest part of their schedule is currently gone now. And they're going to face off against the likes of Soniqs next week for match 3. That's going to be exciting. But also, Jacob, there's been a player that's come out of retirement to join the NAL, and he comes by the name of Canadian, and he's on Dark Zero, and those boys are facing off against Mirage. Are we going to be in for a show or what?
I kind of think Canadian decided to come back after a week of the NAL was already done, just so we had something super exciting to look forward to in the second week and be like, he's going to go ahead and steal the show. And I think Dark Zero is going to do the exact same thing. The return of the gunslinger starts off week 2 against Mirage. Oh boy. Just give that match to me now. Can we skip Astralis OXG and just go right to that one first?
No, I want to see Astralis play. I want to see Laxing.
I know, I want to see Troy
thing.
back, man. It's been too long.
Jesse, if there was any match right here that the viewers just have to tune into, which should be all of them, which one do you think it should be?
I mean, I really think that first one, Auction Astralis, Jacob might want to skip it, but I sure don't. I think that one's going to be fantastic. Astralis have now an opportunity to look back on their last week. Some ups, some downs, obviously. They can get a lot better for stage 2 or for week 2. And against OXG, who've been looking red hot, that'll be a fun game.
All right, now, for those of you out there, I love giving back to the people. I love surprises, and face it, Ubisoft have done exactly that. This is still a super week. We have another play day, September 15th, the day after that, with another banging lineup. The last matchup of that day, by the way, will be Team Solo Mid versus Dark Zero. You don't want to miss it. But fellas, it's still been another great day for the NAL here in Stage 3. Things are starting to spice up, man. I'm loving seeing the old blood here, the young guns doing their thing, but also seeing the Soniqs and Oxygen on top again. Things are getting exciting. So, Jesse, I'm gonna leave this to you, man. What do you got to say to close out the desk for the week?
I mean, we've had now our first 2 playdays. The first week of Stage 3 has undergone, and already things look crazy. I mean, we've got new teams on top, new teams falling off as well. So many new orgs and players and everything. Stage 3 is going to be fantastic, Veli. We're going to keep an eye on those SI points because they continue to be the most important part of this stage. But the rest of these weeks are going to be so incredible. So make sure you tune back in. And I mean, thanks for watching these 2 games.
Jacob, you already know the deal. I don't even have to say anything at this point.
So, we had 4 teams go to the Mexico Major. We didn't do very well. North America and Mexico was not hot. So it's been nice to look at the differences or the similarities in play between how they played in Mexico and how they're playing here. But the cool part about the NAL is there's 5 teams that didn't go to Mexico that are also in the midst of a whole bunch of change-ups. And we're only 2 days in, but that is already like the first week off the board in the NAL. And Stage 3, ramping up for the November Major and the 6th Invitational, means that this stage is all the more crucial. You can't
rest on your laurels. You got to put your best foot forward. Some teams like SQ and Oxygen have already. Some teams like Mirage and Xset definitely are on the opposite side of that coin. So let's see where these guys can go. But I think for the first week, that was already pretty damn good.
It was a really fun week, and I'm gonna be honest. I gotta show some love. Brazil, you guys are the best. I love you, promo. I love everything you guys do. The EUL, y'all look cool. I like what y'all got going on as well. But here in the NAL, you don't get storylines like this. Rookies rising to the occasion. There's upsets galore. You have Soniqs and Oxygen on top of the leaderboards once again. You can't guess it. You can't bet on it. You don't know what's about to happen. So if you want to tune into a league that pops off like Yeti after clutching a round out, make sure you tune into the NAL. We're coming back September 14th, and you don't want to miss it. We're going to close out this desk. And once again, my name is Veli, Jesse, and Jacob. You guys know it's always love. It's been a blast. And for those of you beautiful people at home, we'll catch you next time for more Rainbow Six Siege. You guys take it easy.